Today, we're going to cover some of the caving and cave diving disasters that we have covered on this channel. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. What would you do if you were trapped in a dark, narrow cave surrounded by toxic fumes and struggling to breathe? Imagine being deep underground with no easy way out and every second feeling like your last. This is exactly what happened to a group of experienced cavers exploring Hamilton Cave. What started as an exciting adventure turned into a fight for survival when a mysterious, choking gas filled the air. What caused this terrifying incident? And did they escape, or did the cave claim them? Stay tuned as we reveal the harrowing details of this real-life cave disaster. Hello everyone. Before we dive in, I have an exciting announcement to share. We've launched a brand new channel dedicated entirely to mountain disasters. If you're fascinated by these gripping stories, I highly encourage you to subscribe to Vanox, where we'll be posting daily content covering some of the most intense and harrowing mountain incidents. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to take you on this journey. Thank you. Today, we're taking you deep into Hamilton Cave, a stunning and mysterious cave system located in Washington County, Missouri. This cave is not only a favorite among adventurers, but also holds incredible geological and historical significance. Let's dive into what makes Hamilton Cave so special. Hamilton Cave is situated about 3.5 miles southwest of a small town in Missouri. It's part of the John Gilday Cave Preserve, which is owned by the National Speleological Society. The preserve includes two other caves, but Hamilton Cave stands out due to its unique features and size. What makes this cave even more appealing is its accessibility. You don't need any special equipment to explore it, and it's close enough to major cities like Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Richmond for a day trip. This makes it a perfect spot for both locals and tourists looking for an exciting adventure. Hamilton Cave is believed to have formed millions of years ago, and its features tell a fascinating story. The cave is located in the Corriganville Formation, a layer of limestone and shale that dates back to the Lower Devonian period. This means the cave's rocks are over 400 million years old. What's even more intriguing is that the cave's formation might be linked to massive flooding events, possibly connected to the biblical flood and the Ice Age. This makes it a point of interest for those who study Earth's history from a biblical perspective. Hamilton Cave is not your average cave. It's a wild cave, meaning it's largely untouched and remains in its natural state. The cave is famous for its maze-like network of passageways that intersect at right angles. This maze covers an area of about 28,000 square meters near the entrance, making it easy to get lost if you're not careful. That's why visiting with an experienced guide is a must. As you venture deeper into the cave, you'll encounter narrow passages, high ceilings, and even a section called the air blower. This is a tight, horizontal tube about 6.4 meters long that often has a cool breeze flowing through it, hence the name. Beyond this, you'll find the bowl room, a large chamber that marks the end of the cave. The total length of all the passages in Hamilton Cave is approximately 7.7 kilometers, so there's plenty to explore. Hamilton Cave is not just about rocks and passageways, it's also home to a variety of wildlife. During your visit, you might spot bats, cave crickets, millipedes, and even cave rats. The cave also features stunning formations, crystals, and fossils that add to its beauty. One of the most interesting features is the presence of gypsum crystals, which are believed to have formed due to sulfuric acid activity in the past. These crystals are a rare sight and add to the cave's scientific importance. While Hamilton Cave is a thrilling place to explore, it's important to remember that it's a wild cave. This means there are no man-made paths or lights inside. To stay safe, always explore in a group of at least 3 people and bring multiple light sources. Experienced guides are highly recommended, as the maze-like structure can be confusing, and getting lost is a real possibility. Also, remember to leave the cave as you found it. Nothing should be disturbed so that future explorers can enjoy its natural beauty too. Hamilton Cave offers a unique blend of adventure, history, and natural beauty. Whether you're a seasoned caver or a first-time explorer, this cave has something for everyone. From its massive flood-formed features to its intricate maze of passages, Hamilton Cave is a testament to the power of nature and the mysteries that lie beneath our feet. Harrowing adventure in Hamilton Cave. On May 20th, 1979, a group of 5 experienced cavers set out to explore Hamilton Cave, located in Washington County, Missouri. The group included Chuck Malone, the assigned leader, his wife Rose Malone, Scott Geyer, Larry Zykan, and Bob Ronacher. All of them were in their late 20s and had years of caving experience under their belts. They were excited for the adventure. The group had been planning this expedition for weeks. They were all seasoned cavers who had explored many caves before, but Hamilton Cave was known for its challenging terrain and maze-like passages. They knew they had to be well prepared. Each member packed essential gear, including helmets with headlamps, extra batteries, sturdy boots, gloves, and waterproof clothing. They also carried first aid kits, emergency blankets, and enough food and water to last them for the entire day. Chuck, as the leader, made sure everyone had a map of the cave and understood the route they would take. The night before the expedition, the group gathered to go over the plan. They discussed the weather forecast, which predicted cloudy skies and a chance of rain. While this wasn't ideal for caving, they decided to proceed with caution. They knew that caves could flood quickly during heavy rain, so they agreed to keep an eye out for any signs of rising water. Despite the weather concerns, the group was buzzing with excitement. They couldn't wait to explore the cave's hidden wonders, from its towering passageways to its mysterious underground waterfall. Entering the cave. The next morning, the group of cavers woke up early, filled with excitement and a little nervousness. The sky was cloudy and the air felt cool and fresh. The ground was still wet from the rain that had fallen the night before, making it a bit slippery. But the cavers were ready. They had packed all their gear the night before and were eager to begin their exploration of Hamilton Cave. Before entering the cave, they took a few minutes to double-check their equipment. Each person made sure their helmet with a headlamp was secure and that they had extra batteries, just in case. They also checked their backpacks to ensure they had enough water, snacks, and emergency supplies. Chuck, the leader, reminded everyone to stay close and follow the plan. With everything in order, they took a deep breath and stepped into the cave. The entrance to Hamilton Cave was wide and welcoming. It felt like stepping into another world. The sunlight from outside faded quickly as they moved deeper, and the cool, damp air of the cave surrounded them. The sound of dripping water echoed softly, creating a peaceful yet mysterious atmosphere. The walls of the cave were covered in stalactites, rock formations hanging from the ceiling, and stalagmites, rock formations rising from the floor. Some of these formations sparkled in the light of their headlamps, making the cave feel magical. The floor of the cave was uneven and rocky, so the group had to watch their step carefully. They followed a small stream that flowed through the cave, its gentle sound guiding them deeper into the darkness. The passageways were wide at first, allowing them to walk side by side and chat as they explored. The air was cool and damp, and the smell of wet earth filled their noses. It was a peaceful start to what they thought would be an exciting day of adventure. As they moved further into the cave, the group couldn't help but admire its natural beauty. The walls were lined with ancient rock formations that had taken thousands of years to form. Some of the formations looked like frozen waterfalls, while others resembled delicate curtains or chandeliers. The cavers stopped occasionally to take pictures and marvel at the wonders around them. The cave felt alive, with water dripping from the ceiling and tiny streams trickling along the floor. The group was in high spirits, laughing and joking as they explored. They felt like they were in a hidden world, far away from the stresses of everyday life. The cave was quiet, except for the sound of their footsteps and the occasional drip of water. It was a peaceful and awe-inspiring place, and they were thrilled to be there. After walking for about 2,000 feet, the group reached a section of the cave that marked the start of the real challenge. The wide, open passageways began to narrow, and the ceiling dropped lower and lower. Soon, they found themselves crouching to avoid hitting their heads on the rocky ceiling. The stream they had been following now flowed through a tight, narrow passage that required them to crawl on their hands and knees. This was the moment they had been preparing for. They knew that exploring Hamilton Cave would require more than just walking. It would involve crawling, squeezing through tight spaces, and navigating tricky terrain. The group took a moment to mentally prepare themselves. Chuck reminded everyone to stay calm, take their time, and communicate clearly. They adjusted their headlamps to make sure they could see clearly in the tight space. And then, one by one, they began to crawl into the narrow passage. The crawlway was tight and cramped, leaving just enough space for a person to move forward on their hands and knees. The group moved carefully, one after another, squeezing through the narrow passage. After crawling about 100 feet, 3 members of the group, Chuck Malone, Larry Zykan, and Bob Ronacher, managed to get past a particularly tight spot. They waited on the other side while the rest of the team continued through the passage. Rose Malone and Scott Geyer were still making their way through when something unexpected happened. Suddenly, Rose screamed in panic, her voice echoing through the tunnel. "We need to get out of the cave! Now!" she shouted. At first, the three men thought she was warning about rising water, which is a common and dangerous problem in caves, especially after heavy rain. But as they listened more carefully, they realized something was very wrong. A terrible smell filled the air, making it hard to breathe. The stench was overwhelming, like rotten eggs mixed with strong chemicals. It burned their throats and stung their eyes. The air felt thick and heavy, making every breath painful. Panic set in as they realized they were in serious danger. In an instant, the adventure turned into a living nightmare. The tight, narrow crawlway, which had been challenging but manageable, suddenly became a terrifying trap. The air, which had been cool and damp, was now filled with a suffocating, toxic smell. It was like breathing in thick, burning smoke that stung their eyes and made their throats feel like they were on fire. The group, which had been calm and focused just moments before, was now in a state of panic. The combination of the tight space and the horrible smell caused everyone to lose their composure. Some of the cavers completely lost their sense of direction. In the confusion, they bumped into the walls and each other, knocking their headlamps loose or breaking them entirely. Parts of the crawlway were plunged into complete darkness, making it even harder to see where they were going. The darkness added to the fear, and the group's panic grew worse. In their frantic attempts to escape, the cavers dropped their gear, spilled the contents of their backpacks, and even lost their shoes. The crawlway, which had been difficult but manageable before, now felt like a death trap. The air was thick with the toxic fumes, and every breath felt like a struggle. The group was trapped in a small, dark space with no easy way out, and the fear of being stuck there forever was overwhelming. Rose and Scott, who were still in the narrowest part of the crawlway, were in the most danger. The toxic fumes were strongest there, and they could barely breathe. Every gasp of air felt like fire in their lungs, and their eyes were watering so much that they could hardly see. They clawed at the rocks, desperate to move forward, but the space was so tight that it was almost impossible to make progress. Their hands and knees were scraped and bruised from crawling over the rough, jagged rocks. The more they struggled, the more they felt like the walls were closing in on them. It was a terrifying feeling, like the cave itself was trying to swallow them whole. Rose and Scott knew they had to keep moving, no matter how hard it was. If they stopped, they might not make it out alive. They pushed themselves forward, inch by painful inch, fighting against the tight space and the toxic air. Every movement was a struggle, and every second felt like an eternity. The fear of being trapped in the crawlway, unable to breathe, was almost too much to bear. Chuck, Larry, and Bob, who were in the larger passage, knew they had to act fast. Despite the chaos, they tried to stay calm and think clearly. Chuck shouted instructions to the others, urging them to keep moving and not give up. He knew that if they panicked further, the situation could turn deadly. One by one, the cavers managed to push through the crawlway and reach the larger passage. The air here was clearer, and they could finally breathe without choking. But the ordeal wasn't over yet. They still had to navigate their way out of the cave, and the toxic fumes lingered in the air behind them. As the group moved toward the cave's entrance, they worked together to help those who were struggling. Rose and Scott, who had been closest to the source of the fumes, were in the worst condition. Their eyes were red and watering, and they were coughing violently. Chuck and the others supported them, guiding them through the passages and ensuring they didn't lose their way. The journey out felt like an eternity. Every step was a battle against exhaustion and fear. But the group's training and teamwork paid off. They finally came out from the cave, gasping for fresh air and relief. The cloudy sky outside had never looked more beautiful. Aftermath and reflection. Once outside, the group assessed their injuries and took stock of what had happened. After their terrifying ordeal in Hamilton Cave, the cavers discovered what had caused the toxic fumes that nearly cost them their lives. It turned out that a lithium battery in one of their flashlights had overheated. The battery, which was a 2.8-volt D size, had a design flaw that caused it to short-circuit when the terminal strip inside touched the metal base of the bulb socket. As the battery overheated, it released sulfur dioxide gas, which filled the crawlway with the choking, noxious smell that triggered the panic. While the faulty battery was the source of the problem, the real danger came from the panic that followed. In their fear and confusion, the cavers lost their sense of direction, dropped their gear, and struggled to think clearly. It became an every-person-for-themselves situation, which made the escape even more difficult. This isn't to blame the cavers. Anyone in that situation might have panicked, but it does highlight an important lesson. In an emergency, staying calm and working together can make all the difference. The experience taught the group a valuable lesson about the importance of staying calm under pressure. When things go wrong in a dangerous environment like a cave, panic can make the situation much worse. Instead of rushing and making mistakes, it's crucial to communicate clearly, think rationally, and choose the best course of action. This is easier said than done, but it's something every adventurer should strive for. Despite the terrifying experience, the group made it out alive thanks to their teamwork and determination. They learned not only about the risks of faulty equipment, but also about the importance of preparation and mental resilience. Their story is a reminder that even the most experienced adventurers can face unexpected dangers, and it's how we respond to those dangers that defines the outcome. Final thoughts. The Caver's adventure in Hamilton Cave is a powerful reminder of the beauty and risks of exploring the natural world. While caves and other wild places offer incredible experiences, they also demand respect and caution. Always check your equipment, stay aware of your surroundings, and most importantly, stay calm in the face of danger.
What secrets lie hidden in the dark underwater caves of a quiet lake? Could they hold untold dangers or stories of tragedy? In 1981, a skilled diver entered the murky depths of Bull Shoals Lake, chasing a legend, a massive 70-pound catfish said to live in an underwater cave. But when he swam into the cold, pitch-black cavern, he vanished without a trace. Why didn't he return? What terrifying dangers did he face in those tight, suffocating tunnels? And why couldn't even expert rescuers find him? This is a story of mystery, danger, and adventure that turned into a chilling disaster. Welcome to Bull Shoals Caverns, a breathtaking limestone cave located in Bull Shoals, Arkansas. This natural wonder is one of the oldest limestone caverns in the world, nestled in the Ozark mountain range of central northern Arkansas. The caverns remain alive and continue to grow today, with a constant temperature of 59 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Bull Shoals Caverns is a geological marvel created approximately 350 million years ago during the Ordovician period. Over millions of years, water seeped into cracks in the rock, gradually widening them and dissolving the surrounding limestone to form the intricate cave system that we see today. The caverns feature underground streams, a flowing river, and a small but stunning waterfall located at the deepest part of the cave. The caverns are home to almost every known cave formation or speleothem found in the United States. These include stalactites, which hang from the ceiling, and stalagmites, which rise from the ground. These formations grow very slowly, less than 10 centimeters every 1,000 years. Sometimes stalactites and stalagmites grow together to form impressive columns or pillars. Other formations include drapelites, flowstone, cave pearls, boxwork, and more. Bull Shoals Caverns has a fascinating human history that dates back thousands of years. Evidence shows that humans first dwelled in this cave around 300 BC as determined by carbon dating. However, prehistoric Native American tribes, such as the Cliff Walkers, are believed to have used the caverns as far back as 10,000 years ago. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, early settlers used the caverns as a natural refrigerator to keep their food cool. During the American Civil War, Confederate soldiers harvested saltpeter from the cave, a key ingredient in gunpowder. Later, during the Prohibition era in the early 1900s, moonshiners used the caverns to hide their stills and produce illegal whiskey, taking advantage of the cave's secluded location and cool temperatures. Even during World War II, locals stored food and whiskey in the caverns due to their natural cooling properties. Bull Shoals Caverns is not just a geological and historical wonder, but also a thriving ecosystem. The cave is home to unique life forms, including salamanders, pipistrelle bats, which are small cave-dwelling bats, frogs, and camel crickets. These species have adapted to the dark and damp environment of the cave, making it their perfect habitat. In 1958, Bull Shoals Caverns officially opened to the public, allowing visitors to explore its awe-inspiring formations and learn about its rich history. With its flowing underground streams, cascading waterfall, and ancient formations, the caverns are a must-visit for nature enthusiasts, history buffs, and anyone else looking to witness the beauty of a living cave system. On the evening of Saturday, September 26, 1981, an experienced scuba diver prepared for an adventure that would push the boundaries of his experience levels. He was certified by the National Association of International Underwater Instructors, or NAIU, and had spent 8 years honing his skills beneath the surface of various bodies of water. For this dive, however, his goal was unusual and ambitious. He planned to explore an underwater cave in Bull Shoals Lake, Arkansas, and attempt a unique method of fishing. His idea was to bait a fishing line with several 5-pound catfish and then take it into the cave in the hopes of luring and catching a legendary 70-pound catfish rumored to inhabit the depths. The diver was excited and confident, believing that his experience would be enough to handle the challenges of the dive. He meticulously checked his equipment, ensuring that his air tanks were full, his safety lines secure, and all his hoses in good condition. Friends who were present noted his enthusiasm as he described the rumored size of the catfish and the thrill of exploring the mysterious underwater cave. Bull Shoals Lake, a sprawling reservoir surrounded by the natural beauty of the Ozark Mountains, was known for its clear waters and abundant aquatic life. However, as the sun set on that September evening, the lake's surface grew still, and the water took on a dark, almost ominous appearance. The underwater cave that the diver planned to enter was a hidden, treacherous place. Known to only a few, the cave's entrance lay in the depths of the lake. Inside, the environment was unforgiving. Narrow passages, jagged rocks, and pitch-black darkness awaited anyone daring enough to venture in. The water temperature inside the cave was cold, and visibility was often poor, especially when the silt at the bottom was disturbed. Despite these challenging conditions, the diver was determined to proceed. The excitement of the hunt, combined with the allure of the unknown, drove him forward. As the diver slipped into the cold, dark water, his movements were slow and careful. He held the fishing line tightly, making sure that the large catfish that he had used as bait were secure. With every move, he double-checked his equipment, his breathing steady as he prepared for the challenge ahead. At first, everything felt calm. The water around him was still, and he adjusted his gear to maintain perfect control as he descended deeper into Bull Shoals Lake. After a short swim, the cave's entrance appeared before him, a dark, jagged hole that seemed both mysterious and menacing. The sight made his heart race with a mix of excitement and unease. He stopped for a moment, hovering in the water, and took a deep breath to steady his nerves. The surface of the lake was now far above him, and his only companions were the silence of the deep and the faint sound of his own breathing. He looked up toward the faint light where his companions waited on the surface. With a confident wave of his hand, he signaled that he was going in. Slowly, he turned back toward the cave, his dive light casting an eerie glow on the sharp rocks surrounding the entrance. As soon as he went into the cave, everything felt different. The nice light from the lake almost completely disappeared, taken over by the heavy darkness inside the cave. The light from his diving lamp shone through the blackness, but it only lit up a small, narrow path in front of him. The cave walls felt close, like they were squeezing him, and sharp, uneven rocks stuck out everywhere, threatening to snag his equipment or rip his diving suit. Every movement felt tense. The diver carefully pulled the fishing line behind him, making sure that it didn't snag on the uneven walls. The cold water pressed against his body, and the silence inside the cave was overwhelming. His breathing, amplified by the regulator, sounded loud in his ears, a constant reminder that his air supply was limited. With every foot that he swam into the cave, the diver was pulled deeper into the unknown. He couldn't get rid of this uneasy feeling that was growing inside him. The walls felt closer, the water colder and the silence stronger. What had started as an exciting trip now felt like a dangerous risk. He couldn't go back now, though. He was too far inside. Only the thought of what he was trying to catch, that famous 70-pound catfish, kept him going. About 70 feet into the cave, the passage narrowed further. The ceiling lowered to a height of only 16 to 20 inches, forcing the diver to squeeze through the tight space. The water was cold and murky, and as he moved, the silt at the bottom swirled upward, reducing visibility to almost zero. Suddenly, the diver found himself stuck. He couldn't move in the narrow passage, and his equipment became snagged on unseen obstacles. He struggled to free himself, but the more he moved, the more the silt clouded the water, making it impossible to see anything. He started to panic when he understood just how serious the situation was. He only had a limited amount of air, and every minute that he struggled used up more of it. The cold water went through his diving suit, making him very cold. He started breathing quickly as he tried to get out of the tight space, scraping his hands on the sharp rocks as he desperately tried to free himself. The only sounds in the silent cave were his heavy breathing and the occasional noise of his equipment hitting the rocks. Time seemed to go on forever, and the diver started to lose hope of escaping. When the diver failed to resurface, his companions on the surface grew concerned. Hours passed, and they realized something was wrong. They contacted local authorities, who quickly organized a search and rescue operation. William Burns, an experienced cave diver from Missouri, was among the first to arrive at the scene. Despite the late hour, he donned his gear and he entered the cave, determined to find the missing diver. Inside, he followed the fishing line and bait, which the diver had left as a marker. Burns reached the narrow passageway where the diver had entered, but he was unable to proceed further due to the low visibility and the tight space. By late Sunday evening, a skilled underwater recovery team from Kansas City, Missouri, arrived to help. They came prepared with advanced gear and years of experience in diving, but nothing could truly prepare them for the dangers of the cave. The team knew that they were no longer attempting a rescue anymore. It had become a recovery mission. The divers worked in pairs, carefully entering the dark and narrow cave. From the moment they slipped below the surface, their challenges began. The water inside the cave was freezing cold, and visibility was almost zero. Silt stirred up by any movement made it nearly impossible to see more than a few inches ahead. The cave's jagged walls stretched on all sides, waiting to snag their hoses or tear at their wetsuits. Despite these obstacles, the team pressed on, inching deeper into the cave. Each pair of divers tried to follow the path taken by the missing man, hoping to find some sign of him. The silence inside was eerie, broken only by the sound of their breathing and the sound of their gear against the rocks. One of the divers, wanting to explore further, went deeper into the cave than anyone had ever gone before. He came to a narrow, upward part of the passage, barely big enough to fit through. He struggled to pull himself up, his equipment scraping against the rocks. The space was so tight and small that he had to move very carefully, making sure that his air tubes didn't get caught on the sharp walls. Just as he started to push forward, disaster struck. Without warning, a large rock came loose from the ceiling above him. The heavy stone struck him hard in the face, sending him reeling backwards. Pain shot through his body as he fought to regain his balance, the sudden impact leaving him stunned. Blood from a small cut on his forehead mixed with the silty water, creating a swirling cloud around him. The diver realized just how dangerous things had become and knew that he had to go back. The chance of more rocks falling was just too high, and his injuries meant that he couldn't continue safely. Carefully, he moved backward out of the narrow passage, his heart beating fast with fear. When the diver came back to the surface, the team got together again to think about what to do next. It was obvious that the cave was just too dangerous to explore anymore. The risk of falling rocks, along with the almost complete darkness and tight spaces, made it impossible to keep searching. The team had to make the very difficult decision to stop the mission. As time passed and hours became days, the chance of finding the diver alive became almost impossible. The cold water, the lack of air, and the dangerous surroundings made it almost impossible for him to survive. The rescue attempt was finally stopped, and the operation changed to a mission to find his body. Yet despite their best efforts, the team was unable to locate the body of the missing diver. The cave's treacherous conditions, combined with the falling rocks and low visibility, just made it too dangerous to continue the search. Tom Cook, an expert in cave diving, later talked about the tragedy and pointed out the mistakes made by the missing diver. He said, quote, "It is very clear that the diver was not using the proper equipment for cave diving. He didn't have a reel, only one light, and used a fish line, which is never safe to rely on as a safety line in such dangerous conditions." The cave, known for its poor visibility and numerous obstacles, required specialized training and equipment to navigate safely. Cook and William Burns believe that the diver planted his bait in the cave, but while doing so, he likely stirred up the silt. This could have created a blinding cloud of particles in the water, making it almost impossible to see. In the confusion, the diver may have let go of the fish line and then lost his way in the darkness. Well, despite their efforts, the search teams were never able to find the diver's body. Burns speculated that the currents might have carried it into deep water outside the cave's entrance, where it would be impossible to locate him. This tragic incident serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers of cave diving, especially when proper precautions are not taken. The diver was working alone in a hazardous, low-visibility environment, and his lack of the right equipment put him at even greater risk. His story is a heartbreaking lesson about the importance of preparation, safety, and respecting the challenges of underwater caves. As we wrap up this tragic story, if there's one lesson for you to take away from this heartbreaking incident, it is the importance of proper preparation, equipment, and respect for the environment that you're exploring. Cave diving is not something to take lightly. It demands the right tools, training, and team to back you up. No adventure is worth risking your life for, especially when the odds are stacked against you. Now, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think went wrong? Could this tragedy have been prevented with better equipment or planning? And also, if you've ever explored caves or had a diving experience, we would love to hear about it from you.
Deep within Carlsbad Caverns, an exploration took a terrifying turn. Two young adventurers, only with flashlights, ignored warnings and ventured into the dark, uncharted depths of the cave. But what they found wasn't treasure or glory, it was disaster. One wrong step, a slippery ledge, and a 40-foot fall changed everything. What went wrong? Why did they risk it all? Stay with us as we unravel this chilling tale of adventure, tragedy, and mystery. For more gripping real-life stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps us bring you more well-researched, thrilling content. Welcome to Carlsbad Caverns National Park, one of the most incredible cave systems in the world. Located in the Guadalupe Mountains of southeastern New Mexico, this park is famous for its stunning underground caves, unique rock formations, and fascinating history. Whether you're a nature lover, an adventure seeker, or just curious about the wonders of the earth, Carlsbad Caverns has something amazing to offer, a natural wonder. The star of the park is the Carlsbad Cavern, a massive underground cave filled with breathtaking formations. The most famous part of the cave is called the Big Room. Imagine a space so huge it could fit several football fields. The Big Room is nearly 4,000 feet long, 625 feet wide, and 255 feet high at its tallest point. It's the largest cave chamber in North America and one of the largest in the world. Inside, you'll find stunning stalactites hanging from the ceiling and stalagmites rising from the floor, as well as other unique formations like columns, draperies, and even cave popcorn. Millions of years ago, this area was covered by an ancient sea. Over time, the remains of marine life formed a giant reef made of limestone. Later, tectonic forces pushed this reef above ground, and water began to carve out the caves. But here's the cool part. Deep below the surface, petroleum deposits release hydrogen sulfide gas. When this gas mixed with water and oxygen, it created sulfuric acid, which dissolved the limestone and formed the massive caverns we see today. Once the acidic water drained away, mineral-rich water began dripping into the caves, creating the beautiful formations over thousands of years. Visitors can explore Carlsbad Cavern in two ways. You can take an elevator from the visitor center, which quickly drops you 750 feet below the surface. Or, if you're feeling adventurous, you can hike in through the natural entrance, a steep but rewarding path that takes you deep into the cave. Inside, you'll walk along well-lit trails that showcase the cave's most impressive rooms and formations. Some of the highlights include the King's Palace, the Queen's Chamber, and the Green Lake Room, each with its own unique beauty. A rich history. The caves were first explored in the late 1800s by a curious teenager named Jim White. Using a homemade wire ladder, he ventured into the cavern and named many of its rooms and formations, like the Big Room, the Bottomless Pit, and the Witch's Finger. Thanks to his efforts, the caves gained national attention, and in 1930, Carlsbad Caverns was officially designated as a national park. Later, in 1995, it was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its scientific and natural significance. While the caves are the main attraction, the park is also home to a variety of wildlife. Above ground, you'll find desert plants and animals, but the real stars are the bats. Every summer, hundreds of thousands of Mexican free-tailed bats live in the cave. At sunset, they emerge in a spectacular spiral, creating one of nature's most awe-inspiring shows. Rangers even host bat flight programs where visitors can learn about these amazing creatures and watch them take to the sky. Carlsbad Caverns National Park isn't just a tourist destination, it's also a protected wilderness. About 2/3 of the park is designated as a wilderness area, meaning it's kept in its natural state to protect the plants, animals, and unique geology. This ensures that future generations can enjoy the same beauty and wonder that we experience today. So, whether you're exploring the depths of the cave, marveling at the bats, or simply soaking in the stunning desert landscape, Carlsbad Caverns National Park is a place like no other. On July 18, 1980, two young adventurers, David Carson, age 19, and his friend John Brock, arrived at Carlsbad Caverns National Park in New Mexico. Both were filled with excitement and a sense of adventure, eager to explore the famous caves that had captivated visitors for decades. However, their journey would take a tragic turn, becoming a story of danger, survival, and the importance of respecting nature's boundaries. David and John were no strangers to adventure. Both young men loved the outdoors and had a passion for exploring new places. They had heard about the stunning beauty of Carlsbad Caverns, with its massive underground chambers, intricate rock formations, and mysterious passages. The idea of venturing into the cave, especially after hours when it was closed to the public, added an extra layer of excitement to their plans. They imagined themselves as modern-day explorers, discovering hidden corners of the cave that few people had ever seen. Before heading to the park, the two friends spent the day preparing for their adventure. They packed flashlights, water, and snacks, and even had a few drinks to celebrate their upcoming exploration. They were in high spirits, laughing and joking as they drove to the park, unaware of the dangers that lay ahead. David and John reached the Carlsbad Caverns Visitor Center only to find it closed for the day. The cave tours had ended, and the entire area was silent. A thick metal chain blocked the cave entrance, with a bright warning sign that read, "Do not go beyond chain." For most people, this would have been enough to turn back, but not for David and John. They were too excited to let a simple barrier stop them. The forbidden adventure made their hearts race. Ignoring the warning, they climbed over the chain and stepped into the darkness. The entrance to Carlsbad Caverns was a gaping hole in the earth, leading down into the unknown. As they moved forward, the air turned cold, wrapping around them like an invisible hand. Their footsteps echoed eerily, making it feel as if something, or someone, was following them. They went deeper and deeper into the cave, disappearing into the complete darkness. Huge stalactites hung down from the ceiling like sharp teeth, and the rock walls seemed to get closer and closer. Every shadow looked like it was hiding something scary. They started to breathe shakily. They wondered if it was just their imagination, or if they really heard something moving in the darkness. As David and John followed the trail deeper into the cave, they soon faced another obstacle, a heavy, locked gate blocking their way. This gate was meant to keep visitors out of restricted areas, especially after dark. Frustrated, but still determined, they refused to turn back. Instead, they spotted a series of narrow rock ledges high above the trail and decided to climb over the gate that way. But there was a big problem. The ledges were covered in guano, bat droppings, making them slippery and dangerous. Still, they moved on. Their flashlights shaking in their hands, they carefully moved forward, their lights making spooky shadows on the cave walls. The further they went, the more terrifying it became. The ledges were narrow and unstable, and every step felt like it might be their last. One wrong move, one slip, and they would fall into the darkness below, with no one nearby to help them. Their hearts beat fast as they held onto the rough rock, and they breathed in short, quick breaths. The cave was quiet, except for the sound of water dripping and their own nervous footsteps. A sudden rustling sound from the darkness made them stop moving completely. They wondered if it was just bats, or if something else was hiding nearby. At around 9:45 p.m., the adventure took a terrifying turn. David, who was walking ahead, suddenly lost his footing on the slippery, guano-covered ledge. The surface was unstable, and his feet slid out from under him. He desperately tried to grab onto something, anything to stop his fall, but there was nothing to hold on to. With a sharp cry of fear, he tumbled off the ledge and fell 40 feet down into the darkness. His body hit the rocky rubble below with a sickening thud, the sound echoing through the vast, empty chamber of the cave. Then, there was silence, a heavy, eerie silence that seemed to swallow everything. John, who had been following closely behind, froze in shock. His heart raced as he realized what had just happened. He shouted David's name, his voice trembling with panic, but there was no reply. The cave seemed to mock him with its silence. John's mind raced. He knew he had to act fast. Carefully, he began to climb down the treacherous ledge, his hands shaking and his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Every step was a struggle. The rocks were slippery, and the darkness made it hard to see where he was going. Fear gripped him, but he pushed forward, driven by the need to reach his friend. When John finally reached the bottom, he found David lying still on the pile of broken rocks. David's face looked like he was in a lot of pain, and his body was unnaturally still. John knelt beside him, calling his name again, but David could only groan. It was clear that something was very wrong. David couldn't move his legs, and every breath seemed to be extremely painful. John felt sick to his stomach when he realized how serious the situation was. His friend was badly injured, and they were deep inside a cave, a long way from any help. The reality of their situation hit John like a punch to the gut. They were alone in the dark, with no way to call for help. The cave, which had seemed so exciting and mysterious just moments ago, now felt like a cold, unforgiving prison. John's mind raced with fear and guilt. He knew they had made a mistake by ignoring the warnings and venturing into the cave after hours. But now wasn't the time for regret. He had to find a way to save his friend. John tried to remain calm, but the situation felt overwhelming. John knew he had no choice. He had to get help, and fast. David was hurt, possibly badly injured, and lying alone in the darkness. Staying with him wouldn't save him, but getting help might. With one final look at his friend, John took a deep breath and turned back toward the dangerous ledges. His heart was beating fast as he started the climb, his hands holding onto the cold, damp rock. Every step was a struggle. The slippery ledges covered in bat droppings threatened to send him falling just like David had. The cave was silent, except for his ragged breathing and the crunch of loose stones under his boots. The weight of fear and exhaustion pulled at his limbs, but he forced himself to keep going. He couldn't stop. David's life depended on him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, John reached the cave entrance. The sudden rush of cold night air hit him like a shock, but he barely noticed. He had to find someone now. Then, just ahead, he saw a lone figure, a park technician, John McLaughlin. John ran toward him, gasping for breath, his legs shaking from exhaustion. "Help! My friend fell! He's hurt! Badly!" His voice was frantic, uneven, but he forced out the words. McLaughlin's expression changed in an instant. He didn't hesitate. "Where is he?" John, still panting, pointed toward the cave entrance. McLaughlin's training kicked in immediately. He grabbed his radio and called for backup, his voice calm but urgent. Within seconds, he was mobilizing a rescue team, organizing the effort to reach David before it was too late. The quiet of the night was suddenly broken by the sound of vehicles arriving. Flashing emergency lights lit up the darkness with streaks of red and blue as a team of park rangers and emergency workers arrived. The air was filled with a sense of urgency. They all knew this was a matter of life and death. Immediately, they unloaded their equipment: backboards, ropes, medical kits, and harnesses, everything they would need for a dangerous cave rescue. Time was critical. If David had injured his spine, every minute that passed could mean the difference between him surviving and being permanently paralyzed, or even worse. The rescuers' flashlights cut through the complete darkness of the cave as they carefully went down into the deep opening. The narrow ledges, still slippery from bat droppings, made it very difficult to walk. They took each step very carefully because one wrong move could cause them to fall just like David had. Sweat ran down their faces as they moved through the steep, uneven ground, their muscles working hard under the weight of their equipment. The only sounds were the occasional drip of water from the cave ceiling and the sound of their boots scraping against loose rocks. The deeper they went, the heavier the air felt, as if the darkness itself was pushing in on them. Finally, after a grueling descent, the rescue team reached David's broken body. He was lying twisted and still among sharp rocks, his face pale and showing a lot of pain. He was breathing shallowly, and when he tried to move, he groaned in pain. One of the paramedics immediately knelt beside him and shone a flashlight on his injuries. As soon as they tried to check his legs, David gasped sharply in pain. They realized with horror that he couldn't move his lower body. It was clear that he had injured his spine. The team worked carefully but quickly, knowing that every movement had to be perfect. They gently strapped David onto a backboard, making sure his head and spine were secure so he wouldn't get any more hurt. Every time they adjusted the straps, he felt a wave of pain, digging his fingers into the straps and clenching his jaw to keep from screaming. "You're doing great, David," one of the rangers told him reassuringly, even though they all knew the real challenge was just starting. Now, they had to get him out. Lifting David on the backboard was no easy task. The cave was narrow and steep, and there was barely enough space for the rescuers to move. Each step had to be carefully calculated as they maneuvered him inch by inch through the treacherous terrain. Sweat glistened on their foreheads as they gripped the ropes tightly, using all their strength to keep him stable. The cave walls felt like they were closing in, the air thick with tension. They had to move slowly, too fast, and they could risk another devastating fall. The minutes seemed to pass very slowly, like hours. Their muscles ached, they were extremely tired, but no one dared to stop because David was in severe pain. The rescuers focused only on their goal, getting David out alive. The cave, which had once been an exciting adventure for the two friends, had turned into a dangerous trap. As they got closer to the entrance, the cool rush of fresh air filled the cave, letting them know that the end was near. The rescuers held on tighter, using the last of their strength to pull David up the final stretch. When they finally came out into the night, they all felt a huge wave of relief. David was immediately loaded into an ambulance and transported to Guadalupe Medical Center in Carlsbad. Doctors quickly determined that he had suffered a severed spine, leaving him permanently paralyzed from the waist down. For David, the consequences of that fateful night would last a lifetime. What had started as an exciting adventure had turned into a life-altering tragedy. He would never walk again, and the physical and emotional pain of his injuries would stay with him forever. This tragic incident serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers that come with ignoring rules and venturing into restricted areas. It was reported that both David and John had been drinking, and their decision to explore the cave after hours was not only illegal, but also incredibly risky. Equipped only with flashlights, they were unprepared for the challenges they faced. While the desire for adventure is natural, it's important to remember that nature can be unforgiving, and even small mistakes can have life-altering consequences. The design of the cave's entrance, large and only partially fenced, made it almost inevitable that someone would eventually try to climb around the barriers. Sadly, this wasn't the only time such an incident occurred. Later that same year, another individual attempted a similar reckless climb. This highlights the need for better safety measures and stricter enforcement to prevent such accidents in the future. However, it's not just inexperienced or unprepared adventurers who take risks. Even experienced cavers sometimes climb in dangerous areas without proper safety equipment, like a belay rope. This story reminds us that no matter how skilled or confident we are, taking unnecessary risks in environments where a fall could have serious consequences is never worth it. Safety should always come first. In the end, David's story is a heartbreaking example of how quickly adventure can turn into tragedy.
What does it feel like to be lost in complete darkness, surrounded by cold, dripping walls, with no idea which way leads to safety? This is the chilling story of 3 experienced cavers who entered the depths of Sloan's Valley Cave late one night. What began as an exciting adventure quickly turned into a fight for survival when one of them, Tony Hughes, made a fateful decision that left him alone, lost, and desperate in the pitch-black maze. What went wrong? What happened to Tony? Stay with us as we unravel this mysterious and harrowing tale. Nestled in the beautiful and remote Appalachian foothills of southeastern Kentucky, Sloan's Valley Cave is a true hidden gem for explorers and nature lovers. Located near the Cumberland River, this cave system stretches over 24.6 miles, making it one of the longest caves in Kentucky and among the top 100 longest caves in the world. The cave is just a short drive south of Burnside, Kentucky, off U.S. Highway 27, and lies between Somerset, the last major city in the area, and Knoxville, Tennessee. Surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills, Sloan's Valley Cave offers a unique underground adventure that showcases the beauty and history of the region. Sloan's Valley Cave is not only impressive for its size, but also for its fascinating geology. The cave is formed in Mississippian limestone, specifically the St. Genevieve and St. Louis layers of the Slade Formation. This gives the cave its stunning rock formations and unique features such as the Big Room, one of the largest underground chambers in Kentucky. The Big Room measures a jaw-dropping 750 feet in length, 130 feet in width, and 90 feet in height, an awe-inspiring sight for anyone lucky enough to visit. With at least 16 known entrances scattered across the area, the cave system is accessible from various points. One of the most famous entrances is the Great Rock Sink, a dramatic karst window with towering limestone walls up to 80 feet tall. This natural sinkhole features 2 main entrances into the cave. The larger West Cave entrance, which is 50 feet wide and 15 feet tall, and the smaller East Cave entrance, which leads to a series of once flooded chambers. Sloan's Valley Cave is steeped in history. Early explorers and settlers were drawn to its vast chambers and unique features. In one section of the cave, near what was once the Cumberland River entrance, the remains of saltpeter mining operations have been found. These remains, including casts of old vats, tell the story of the cave's role in providing resources during the early 19th century. The cave is also home to breathtaking natural wonders. Inside, visitors can find crystal formations, flowing underground streams, and even a natural fountain. Some parts of the cave feature a so-called Lost River and a 350-yard underground boat ride, offering a truly unforgettable experience. The incredible scenery of stalactites, stalagmites, and sparkling walls is like stepping into another world. Whether you're a seasoned caver or simply someone looking for a unique adventure, Sloan's Valley Cave offers an unforgettable journey into the heart of Kentucky's natural beauty. Guided tours are available for visitors who want to explore this underground wonder while learning about its fascinating history and geology. So pack your gear, bring your sense of adventure, and get ready to discover one of Kentucky's greatest treasures. In 1981, on the night of Sunday, July 19th, Tony Hughes, a 17-year-old seasoned caver, prepared for an adventure with his companions, Tom Hughes and Rob Riemann. The group planned to explore the southern extension of Sloan's Valley Cave in Pulaski County, Kentucky. All 3 were experienced cavers, well trained in navigating underground systems. Tony, the most familiar with Sloan's Valley, had ventured into the cave at least 6 times before. His knowledge of its passages and routes gave the group confidence. The trio spent time planning their expedition. They packed essential caving gear, including helmets, headlamps, ropes, field maps, and snacks to sustain them through the long night. They knew that Sloan's Valley Cave, with its intricate network of passages, required careful preparation. Tony brought his field map of the cave in order to guide them through the maze-like system. They decided to enter the cave shortly after midnight in order to avoid the summer heat. As they reached the entrance, the weather was calm but humid, with remnants of heavy spring rain still visible. Outside, the forested area around the cave was quiet, save for the occasional chirping of crickets. Inside the cave, the air was damp and cool, with a slight musty smell typical of underground systems. Water dripped from the limestone walls, and pools of standing water dotted the cave floor. The group moved deeper into the southern part of the cave, their headlamps lighting up the rough, rocky walls around them. The beams of light created eerie shadows that danced across the dark, narrow passages. Every sound they made echoed in the vast underground space. Tony led the way, guiding his two companions through the winding tunnels. The trio moved carefully, watching their steps to avoid slipping on wet rocks and ducking under sharp stalactites hanging from the ceiling. After exploring for a few hours, they came to something that was blocking their way, a steep drop. It looked scary in the dim light. A rope hung down the slope, which they could use to climb down, but it was covered in thick mud, probably from the recent rain that had flooded some parts of the cave. The mud made the rope slippery and dangerous, which would be difficult even for people who were experienced at caving. Tony, feeling confident in his skills and experience, decided to go down first. "I'll check it out," he said to Tom and Rob, trying to sound calm despite the tension in the air. He gripped the muddy rope tightly, testing its strength before slowly sliding down. At around 3 a.m., Tony grabbed hold of the muddy rope and carefully slid down to a narrow ledge just below the top. The rope felt slick and unstable in his hands, the mud making it nearly impossible to grip properly. As he reached the ledge, a sinking realization hit him. He couldn't climb back up. The mud-coated rope was too slippery, and the slope was too steep for him to pull himself back to safety. His heart began to race as he looked up at Tom and Rob, who were waiting up above. "I can't climb back up," he shouted, his voice echoing through the cave. Despite the tension in his voice, Tony tried to stay calm. "Don't worry," he told them. "I'll find another way out and meet you at the entrance." While trusting Tony's experience and judgment, Tom and Rob nodded. They hesitated for a moment, worried about leaving their friend, but they eventually turned and began retracing their steps back towards the surface. At the same time, Tony turned to face the darkness below, looking for a different way to go. He kept going, venturing further into the cave. But as he went deeper, he found a new problem. The heavy spring rains had flooded many of the lower tunnels. Water filled the passageways in front of him, cold and murky, reflecting the weak light from his headlamp like a dark, wavy mirror. Each step was more challenging than the last. The cold water rose to his waist in some places, soaking him through and chilling him to the bone. Also, during his struggle down the rope, he had lost his field map, the one thing that could have helped him navigate the cave's complex network of twisting tunnels. Now, without the map, every passage looked the same. Left or right, up or down, he couldn't tell which way would lead to safety. Tony's ordeal was harrowing. He stumbled over jagged rocks and waded through waist-deep water searching for an exit. The damp air chilled him to the bone, and exhaustion set in. His muscles ached from the physical effort, and his hands were raw from gripping wet, rough surfaces. The cave was eerily silent, except for the occasional sound of dripping water echoing through the tunnels. Hours passed, and Tony began to feel the weight of his predicament. He was alone in the vast, dark cave with no clear sense of direction. Panic threatened to overtake him, but he forced himself to stay calm and focused. He knew that his best chance of survival was to keep moving and try to find his way back to the rope. Now, at the same time, Tom and Rob had gotten back to the surface and they realized that Tony wasn't with them. Worried about their friend, they decided to go back to the place where the rope was and look for him. They went back twice, shouting his name and searching for any sign of him. When they couldn't find him, they contacted the Pulaski County Rescue Squad, or PCRS, to ask for help. By 10 a.m., the PCRS had assembled a team of 8 rescuers. Equipped with specialized caving gear and extensive knowledge of the cave system, the team entered Sloan's Valley Cave to search for Tony. They methodically explored the southern extension, focusing on areas where Tony was most likely to be. Now, as the rescuers searched, Tony managed to find his way back to the rope drop. Summoning the last reserves of his strength, he struggled to climb the muddy rope. His hands slipped repeatedly, but he refused to give up. After a grueling effort, he finally reached the top and began making his way towards the cave entrance. At around noon, Tony came out from the cave, exhausted and covered in mud. His relief was immense as he stepped out into the daylight, safe at last. Unbeknownst to him, though, the rescue team was still inside the cave, combing through the passages in search of him. The rescuers finally came out of the cave, and they found out that Tony had already gotten out by himself. Now, while everyone was relieved that everything turned out okay, there were quite a few lessons to be learned from this. The cavers relied on their flashlights as their main source of light. But in a cave as vast and complex as Sloan's Valley, that limited light made it very easy to lose their sense of direction. The darkness of a cave can be overwhelming, and without enough light, it is much easier to get disoriented. Looking back on it, it would have been safer if Tony had checked his alternate route before sending Tom and Rob back to the surface. By staying together as a group, they could have supported each other and avoided the risks of splitting up in such a dangerous environment. This story is a reminder of the importance of teamwork, proper planning, and always having a backup plan when exploring caves. In the end, Tony was lucky to find his way out, but the ordeal could have had a much worse outcome. For all cavers, this serves as a lesson about the unpredictable nature of caves, and the need for extra caution when venturing into the unknown. Thank you everyone for joining us on this incredible and harrowing journey through Sloan's Valley Cave. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been caving or had an adventure like this? If so, we would love to hear your stories. And if you want to see more thrilling tales of exploration and survival, you gotta make sure you subscribe to our channel and also hit that notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring.